Welcome back. Today is Thursday, May the 9th, and I am going to do part 2 of my journey with Wegener's Granulomatosis, or GPA vasculitis. As I said last week, May is National Vasculitis Awareness Month, and GPA, or Wegener's Granulomatosis, is a form of vasculitis. So today I'm going to talk about how dialysis affected my life. As I've said before, Wegener's can affect people different ways. It's kidneys, it's lungs, it's joints, it's ear, nose, and throat, sinuses. For me, it's mainly just been my lungs, which were fairly mild, but the biggest thing has been my kidneys. Now, I am in remission, but I am still considered to be in kidney failure. Just my kidneys function well enough that I don't need dialysis and I don't need a kidney transplant. So I'm going to tell you about dialysis. When I had my very first dialysis, I had it done in the ICU, and they actually brought the machine to me because I couldn't leave. And then once I went to a regular room, they would wheel me downstairs, and I had dialysis done just about every day that I was in the hospital. Now, once I got home, I went 3 days a week. I went Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And I had to be there at 6:50 in the morning, which kind of sucked. But in another way, it was kind of nice because my husband could take me, and then I just had to have somebody pick me up Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then he would pick me up on Saturday. And honestly, I didn't sleep anyhow, so it made no difference to me. Well, when we would get there, he would drop me off at the door, and then he would park and come in. After about probably a month on dialysis, I had gotten so weak that I had to actually ride in a wheelchair to go back to dialysis. And it wasn't that far, but it was probably, I'd say, at least 100 yards, which is not far, but for me, it was like walking a marathon. So I would get in the wheelchair, and they would call me back, and so Keith would push me back, and then you stop and you weigh yourself, and then you tell the nurse what you weighed, which they weighed you in kilograms, which was nice because I always felt like I was really skinny versus pounds. But you go back and you have assigned seating, and you sit in the same chair every time. And so I would go back to my chair, and I would wait for a tech to come along, and she would ask me my weight, and then that's when they would figure out how much fluid they needed to take off of me. Now, most people on dialysis are going to gain 2 to 3 pounds in liquid between treatments, from what I've understood. Me, because I was so sick and I was throwing up almost everything I ate, I was losing weight. I would many times come in there weighing less than my dry weight. Your first weight is considered wet weight, and then your dry weight is when you get done. So, or vice versa, but I think I'm right. So anyhow, they always had a hard time trying to figure out how much fluid they wanted to take off of me. So we get sat down, and then the nurse will come over, and I had a vas cath right here. You can see, I'll show you the scars. I have scars right there from having that in there. And so they would hook up the machine to me, and I had 2 tubes in my chest, and they would clean the tubes, and then they would flush them, and then they would hook up the tubing. And basically, I would always say I was getting an oil change. What they do is the machine pulls all your blood out and cleanses it and puts it back in, because my kidneys were not cleansing my blood like they should be. Now, this would take 4 hours. I would be hooked up to this machine. It wasn't like, it never hurt. It was never uncomfortable. It just really made me tired. And I would usually sleep maybe a couple hours out of the time I was there. They would draw blood once a month. I had a nurse practitioner come around to go over the blood work. I had a dietitian go around once a month and kind of talk about where my numbers were. Now, my numbers always stayed good. I had to follow a special kidney diet, which is a high protein diet. You could have bread, pasta, rice, butter. I had to limit my fruits and vegetables. I had to watch my potassium and my phosphorus. Pop, Coke, soda, whatever you want to call it, has a lot of phosphorus in it. So I didn't drink. I think I drank maybe 2 or 3, and I know at least twice I drank because I knew I was going to throw it up, so I didn't really even care, but I had a hunger for it. So my potassium and my phosphorus numbers were always right where they needed to be, but my protein level was always low, which is still low. I know I struggle. I'm not a huge meat eater, but I tried to find protein in other sources, but I can only have so much calcium a day. So I couldn't really eat a lot of cheese, which has a good source of protein. I did eat nuts. I ate a little bit of peanut butter. I had to kind of watch the peanut butter because of the phosphorus. So it was kind of tricky for me. But another thing is I was limited to 32 ounces of liquid a day. Liquid. Now that was milk, water. If I ate soup, I really had to limit my intake because I didn't, well, to be blunt, I didn't pee. I would pee once in the morning, once at night, and it would be a little tinkle. It wouldn't be much. And there are some people on dialysis who don't go at all. So it was really hard for me, and it was weird because I like to drink water. I wouldn't drink alcohol at all, though they told me I could have alcohol just in moderation, but I didn't want to waste my precious liquids on a beer. So once they got through with your dialysis, I forgot this part, they also gave me a shot of heparin every time because my blood would clot real bad, and it would clot up the machine, and they'd have to come over and adjust it every time. And, that would add another 15 minutes to the regimen. So then when I was completely done, they would come over and they would unhook everything and clean it all and change the bandages. And then also, while I was getting dialysis, every 15 minutes they checked my blood pressure, which my blood pressure is still out of whack. We're having trouble with it. I never had blood pressure issues before I got sick either. So that's been really hard on me. But so then we get done with that. And so altogether I would be there about 4.5 hours or so, give or take. But it was hard. It drained my energy. I think that was a major part of why I was so weak was, it's very hard on your body. I can't even imagine what it's like to be on this for years. And I had resigned in myself that I was going to be on it for years until I got a kidney, if I ever got a kidney, which I have a rare blood type. I'm A negative, and so I could only get A negative or O negative blood. So it was, it was a little bit harder for me to find a donor. And so, there were days that I would ask myself, was it worth the fight? I'm going to be honest. But it always was for me. I'm very blessed. I have a great support system. I have family who love me. I have a great husband. I have great children. I have great friends. So I was not going to go down without a fight. But when they called me to tell me I was taking off dialysis, though, it was on a Friday. I had my treatment on Thursday. They called me on Friday. And once a month, I'd have to pee in a thing and collect it for a 24-hour period. So I turned it in on Monday when I went, on Monday. I went on Tuesday. On Tuesday, and then on Friday, they called me and said that my creatinine levels were, whatever they were, like 1.6, 1.8. They were low enough that I could be taken off dialysis. That was a miracle. I've said that before. Nobody expected it. In the hospital, I started out at a 9. It got up to 10, which is pretty close to death. And to go down to almost normal is 1.1 and below, is just amazing. I literally, if I had not been sitting, I would have fallen over. I was so surprised and so shocked. And when I hung up, I started crying. You know, it was a relief that I was going to have to spend, 12 hours, 16 hours, whatever it was, a week being hooked up to a machine. You're tethered. You can't move. You're in a recliner and you've got about maybe 3 or 4 feet of tubing. So there's nothing you could do. You couldn't get up, and you'd also, another thing is you would freeze during dialysis. I had a blanket that one of my friends gave me. I call it my dialysis blanket now, but I would take that blanket with me every day because I would be so cold. I mean, I would shiver. Even under that blanket, there were times that I was so cold. So it's just was definitely a roller coaster of emotions for me. It was physically hard on me, mentally and emotionally hard on me. I appreciate what I've been given. I mean, I am truly, truly blessed. And, that's not to say that my kidneys will not ever need, I mean, there may be a time I'll need to go back on dialysis, but I don't know. And I'm not going to worry about it. There's nothing I can do to prevent it. I mean, I've not done anything that caused this disease. There's nothing I could have done to stop it. I am going to attach at the end of this video a short, I think it's 30 seconds long clip of me getting dialysis. We did try to record a vlog, my husband did, but he didn't do a very good job recording it. No offense, Keith. And I couldn't use the footage. So I did do a little bit of recording of myself, but I was trying to be stealth because I didn't want people to think I was being a weirdo. But anyways, I'm going to attach that at the end of this video so you can kind of see what it looks like to get the dialysis. There's an intake or an outtake and an intake tube. So I think that's about all though. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys allowing me to share my journey with you. The ups, the downs, the good and the bad, the happiness and the sadness. I really do appreciate it. I hope I'm helping people understand chronic illnesses, understand what it's like to have a debilitating disease. And like I've said before, I don't look sick, but the inside of me is extremely ill. So I think that's it. I will talk to you guys later, and I hope you have a great day. And remember, not every day is good, but there's always something good in every day, and I will see you next time.